My question is regarding AI. If it starts making research breakthroughs on like physics, science, do you think it's going to replace investment management like to 99%? Or what are your thoughts?
I think that AI is going to make a lot of investing strategies more and more short-term, almost like an arms race, where a company files a 10K and the AI can read it and come to a conclusion faster than anyone else who's got the fastest model to analyze and come up with a conclusion, and they'll put a trade in on the basis of that. The two biggest forces in markets right now are indexation, right? I don't know, that is half the company, but some meaningful percentage of companies are getting, the float is being taken out of the market by index funds. And the other big force are the sort of pod shops, Millennium and others, incredibly short term. They have individual teams, very high compensation, very tight risk limits, which basically means stop loss type sort of structures. And the effect of those, the float shrinking and more short-term money, and then AI is going to do the same, actually presents very good opportunities for probably most of the people in this room. If you have a horizon that's longer than a minute, if you have a horizon, if you can take a multi-year view, some really great companies are going to become available at stupidly cheap prices because of some short-term piece of information that anticipates that the stock will go down, and you have a whole bunch of people following along. So I think AI is a great research tool. I think the way it's going to be used in markets is going to be used for the kind of very short-term insights. If you think about Citadel, there are always these stories about locating the server within the shortest distance possible with the fastest fiber, if you will, close to the exchange, so they can have a slight edge over the competition. So I think that's where AI, I think, is a more useful, or where a lot of, and they're going to have the resources, just to be the third largest customer or whatever of Google. But I think the kind of long-term patient investor, I think more opportunities will present themselves. The other thing I would say, AI is, at least at this point, is about understanding everything in the past, and on the basis of that, perhaps predicting the future. And that relies on, I think creativity is basically doing stuff that has never happened before. When I look at Pershing Square, many of our most successful investments, transactions, were things that had never happened before. Going short the credit of a AAA rated company, buying the stock of a company going bankrupt. Those are two of our most successful investments, but it hadn't happened before we did it. Now, we just did an IPO, we did it in a completely unique way. I mean, the AI wouldn't have told you to give a gift to IPO investor with their purchase, because it hadn't happened before. So I think there's still room for human creativity. So I think AI is more like an accelerant, but I think there's still room for us for now.